Well, if you watched the last video that I did on this whole migrant issue with Andrew Callaghan, you would know that I got upset that this video was being paywalled. And I think there's another one coming that's also paywalled. But it seems like he's been releasing these videos later on, so I'm gonna go ahead and give him another like and another subscribe. And an apology to Andrew Callaghan. I'm sorry. So let's check out this migrant detention camp video.
In the middle of the Sonoran Desert, hidden behind Border Patrol vehicles and makeshift tents, were hundreds upon hundreds of migrants, all of who hopped the U.S.-Mexico border in the past couple hours. It was a shocking sight to see. People from all around the world, herded like cattle on the cold desert floor, sitting in silence, awaiting an uncertain future. Despite these conditions, spirits are generally high, because most of these people have traveled days, weeks, and even months just to get here. About 3/4 of them are single males, but there are also many children.
America is at a breaking point with record levels of illegal immigration.
These people's lives are at the center of the national conversation, but they could care less. They've finally made it to the land of opportunity, a nation allegedly founded upon the principles of liberty and radical individuality, where anyone from any walk of life can make something out of themselves.
I guess they call them detainees. They've been walking on this road. This road runs for 12 miles, 12 or 13 miles. What it does is it parallels our border fence. On the other side of it, on the Mexican side of it, is Mexican Highway 2. So the cartels have a really easy job. They just bring the people off of Highway 2 and then through the wall. The wall has many of those cuts that I told you about earlier, where they run the people through.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
The immigrants just walk down this road.
Right, so as you guys can probably see right here, that's a group of 5 migrants who just hopped the border, and they're walking directly into Border Patrol custody
to join the seated group of migrants that we just...
So they're like not even actually helping them. They helped them and now they're like, well, it's open now. Just come on in and just sit over here and wait for however long.
just encountered.
So typically when you think of the border, at least me personally, I thought it was like people hop and then try to evade Border Patrol and make their way to a large U.S. city to
No,
start
they're
a
just
new
being
life.
let in.
But in this case, you can see they are putting themselves directly in the custody of Border Patrol to begin the asylum seeking process. Like they're not trying to evade or anything.
A Border Patrol agent agreed to speak with us, but didn't want to
This is not how this should be done.
go on camera. Normally, agents are not allowed to be interviewed, and all press requests are typically deferred to a public information officer who rarely ever responds. But in this instance, the agent seemed exhausted and eager to tell me what was going on.
Why are they not allowed to be interviewed? This is America. They have free speech. They should be saying whatever. If it's a good thing that's happening there, they should be able to talk about it. It's ridiculous that they're not allowed to talk. Is this China? Where you can't speak about any of this? What about when they go home? Can they not speak? It's top secret.
No, there's very few of them evading.
How come?
Well, because
The human trafficking of these poor people that have no idea what they've gotten themselves into. It's just disgusting.
allow them in. They don't evade because they'll let them come in. They load them in the vans. They take them up to Phoenix, give them a $3,000 gift card and a cell phone, and send them wherever they want to go. You get a court date. You have 2 years to show up in court. That's the reason they give them a phone, because they're saying if they don't give me a phone, I don't know when I'm supposed to go to court. So they give them a phone.
At first, I was confused what the Border Patrol agent meant when he kept referring to they. To the naked eye, it appears that Border Patrol is the one handling and processing the migrants, but they're only the first step in a chain of bureaucratic authority that goes up to the Department of Homeland Security, then finally up to the Department of Justice's Executive Office for Immigration Review, which is more or less controlled by the Biden administration, who've taken a much more open arms approach to immigration after pulling back Title 42 just about a year ago. But despite pushing for more lax border laws in comparison with President Trump,
the wall just got 10 feet taller, believe me.
Biden hasn't done anything to make the process of applying for citizenship any faster. In fact, it still takes between 18 to 24 months to get a response.
Yeah, and they're letting them in, and then what are they doing? Nothing. They're giving them a phone and $3,000 that will last a week. And then they have no jobs, and then who's taking care of them? They're going to these hotels where they're given these services that are being paid for by who?
On a citizenship application. And it's actually possible to be denied citizenship if you fail to memorize and regurgitate fun facts about the history of America.
How many amendments does the Constitution have?
It has 27 amendments.
Good. Which group of people was taken to America and sold as slaves?
Africans.
Good. Excellent.
So
I agree that they shouldn't have to know these things because, like, if they're wanting to come to America, they shouldn't just be coming to America. They should know what America is and what it's about first. Because if they come in thinking it's their home country and then they bring their whole family and their friends and then it just creates, and then they go into an area full of people that are like them, it just creates the same problem again, but here in America. Because the people that had control and where they're from will find out that there's this group of people there that they can just go and get their fingers into the local politics and control them there. And it happens all the time.
it makes sense why a lot of migrants, many of whom are facing desperate circumstances, avoid the citizenship application process altogether. I wonder if my great-great-grandparents, who were economic refugees that fled Ireland in the wake of the potato famine, experienced such an arduous process when they arrived to America illegally. Unlike these migrants who arrived at the southern border, my family arrived on boats to Ellis Island 115 years ago.
And it's also a very different time and a very different situation because now everything is tied into, like, you have to go get a 9-to-5 job in order to survive. Back then, you could just go find a plot of land and build you a little farm. You can't do that anymore because you have to pay, like, electric bills and you have to get your food from the grocery store and you have to pay taxes. They've got all these restrictions on you that, and they're taking the money from us to pay for them. And it's just, what is happening? I would be perfectly fine with letting these people in, no questions asked, if we were allowed to protect ourselves and, you know, live without the government impeding on us and just do what we want to do. And not have all these restrictions of, like, taxes, and or at least let us choose where the taxes go. It's just gross.
Just like Roberto and Alberto, who we interviewed in our previous episode, Arizona Border Crisis, they found themselves in a strange new land with pennies to their name. They had no particular plan, but what they did have was the willpower and determination to work as hard as they could with the hopes of one day providing a brighter future for their family. And it worked. And that's all thanks to Grandpa Jerry, who died 30 years before I was born. I wonder if he was asked who Paul Revere was, or what the Boston Tea Party was all about. Was there a concern back then that these migrants weren't American enough to join our society? Or is that way of thinking a new phenomenon, driven by the paranoia of a white minority?
An analysis of census data from the Brookings Institute projects the number of white Americans will fall below 50% for the first time ever in about 20 years, 2045.
I'm not feeling where he's taking this video. Because he's somewhat right, but I think he's got the wrong idea. Because I'm not threatened by these people. I'm threatened by the government doing everything incorrectly.
Or perhaps it's less about race and more about the burden of inheriting global poverty when we have so many problems of our own. I guess times have changed a lot too. It's not like there was fentanyl or cartels back then, and most immigrants plan to move to America forever, not stack up money here and go back home. I don't have the answers.
A lot of them do that. I know there are a lot of South Africans in this little town that I live in, and they make money from these farmers and then send it back to Africa. And that's taking money away from this area and giving it to another country. And we're feeling it. Because they're getting the jobs over the people from the area because they will work for less money. Because the economy is different where they live. So that they don't care. They're only going to be here temporarily.
But I do have a lot of questions. One question in particular. How can we, as Americans, expect to propagandize the entire world with our dream through Hollywood, the music industry, and the testimonies of self-made American billionaires, while simultaneously exploiting the labor, crops, and raw earth materials of developing nations, freezing the economies of our political opponents through trade sanctions, and creating rival drug cartels with our insatiable appetite for cocaine, fentanyl, meth, and heroin, and not expect a global economic refugee crisis?
I do like where this video is going.
But that being said, no matter where you stand on illegal immigration, I think we can all agree that our system, as it currently stands, is broken.
We have a legal process for immigrants, and it's being done by some, but it takes forever.
Yeah.
You know, so it needs to be sped up for those with skills and those who want to come and build skills.
True.
And be Americans and be proud to be here and work and better their lives.
Yeah, I think there needs to be like a test for people to do that is an actual test, not like a quiz on whether or not you can get in. And there'd be certain levels of this test. Like the highest version of the test means that it goes by the quickest, and then you get the best work. Like you be super genius levels, you work at SPACEBOX or something. And then the next level would be like, you would be perfect to work at like a factory, a big factory, like making cars or something, or, you know, something like that. Next level would be like, you would, not saying that these is where they have to work. This is just putting them into the job category of what their current worth is. And if they're younger, send them to school. Not college, but some school, like trade school. I mean, if we can send them to some kind of like College of the Ozarks in Missouri, I believe is free. So send them there. There's places like that. And then the lowest level, I mean, still let them in, but like lowest level means that you have to go through training courses. Not re-education. It's just like, this is the history. This is what the government does. These are the policies of everything. These are the laws. This is what the economy is like and how everything works, you know, stuff like that. And then once they're done with that, they get to become citizens. But if they don't go through with that, they go back home.
Families and the treacherous journey that they have to take across the border and through the desert, you're losing lives that way. And so I just hope in 2024 we can rectify this problem and help those who want to get here legally.
It appeared that all of the migrants who were walking directly into Border Patrol's hands were approaching from a westbound road called Puerto Blanco Drive, a narrow dirt pathway running through the national park. So I decided to drive down the road to see if I could find some migrants to speak to. First, we see some signage warning us of what's to come. Truthfully, I don't expect to see much, but as I continue down the road, they seem to be spawning out of thin air from all angles. Most of them in a rush, we're told, because their cartel coyotes told them they had to get to the Border Patrol facility by nightfall in order to be transferred to a larger processing center or dropped off in a major city. But I know.
And I just want to know, what are the cartels getting out of this? I mean, I know a lot of what they're getting out of it, but like, what are they getting out of the people actually getting across the border? They're going to keep in contact with these people. They've got all their information. And they're going to slowly try and take over. If they haven't already taken over some portion, I guarantee that the cartel is running Border Patrol. I guarantee it. If you look at a lot of the people that are in Border Patrol, they look like they came from Mexico or South America. Not saying that that's 100% what's going on, but definitely Border Patrol is running some parts of it. If you just think about like how a movie would work about the Border Patrol, there's going to be some corruption anywhere you go. with cops, FBI, CIA. There's corruption everywhere.
I noticed a group of a few of them walking pretty slowly, so I called them over to the car to see if they want to talk.
How you guys doing? Where are you guys from? Senegal. From Senegal? How you're in America? How does it feel? What's the plan?
Traduction, traducteur.
Okay.
Ah ouais, du camping américain. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you guys tell me about your life in Senegal? How was your life in Senegal? How you guys doing? Welcome to the United States. Where are you from, man? Senegal. Senegal. You guys are all from Senegal?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. You speak any English?
I like his attitude about it.
Cool. So how was your guys' life in Senegal?
The life in Senegal is very, very hard, you know.
I know a lot of people that would be screaming and yelling at these guys and saying, lock them up. These are just regular people. We do not blame these people. The people we blame are the people who are allowing them to just come in and being controlled by these cartels. Those are the people we blame.
Chaos and unrest in Senegal once again. The opposition leader urged supporters to take to the streets to protest against his jail sentence.
The political government is bad. Opposition are very difficult to manifest her.
I just want to know why. I understand, like, we've got freedom here, or liberty, but like, why is it always up to the government to have to fix these problems? Why won't some of these trillion-dollar corporations come down there and help a little bit? It wouldn't even just throw a couple million out of your trillions. That's not even a fraction of a percentage. Probably because they want the problem to occur. Elon Musk went down there.
We are here to get another life for our family, for our people. We are very tired in Senegal. Senegal is very hard. That's why we come here to get another life, you know?
Yeah.
The American people is a good people.
Yeah.
They are democracy. They are good life, you know.
Nah.
What kind of work do you want to do?
Me? I was a soldier in Senegal. I do two years in the army, you know. After my 2 years, I was a security private, you know.
Security?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Security private.
So you're going to look for a security job?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, man, well, best of luck, man. I appreciate you guys. Hope everything goes well.
Okay.
See you guys later. See you, man.
Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, see you guys.
Bye, guys.
After stopping to speak for a bit, the group of Senegalese men headed westbound, toward the Border Patrol facility. We, however, kept driving. As you continue to drive along the border wall, you can see people popping out from under the wall in a specific part of the fence that's being guarded by an SUV on the Mexican side. Nearby, I see a group of mothers and children who appear to have recently just crossed the wall. They tell me they're migrants from Michoacan. The mother of these children, who personally financed their
Yeah, I don't think we need to be arresting these people, which I don't think we actually are. I don't think there's any people that actually are calling for the arrest of these people, just the ones who are actual criminals. Some argue that these people are criminals, but I don't think, because they don't know the laws here, and they are being told from Biden himself that the border is open in their country. There are videos of Biden saying the border is open, and it gets shared everywhere, and the cartels say it. But they have no idea, so like, I don't think arresting those people is the way to go. We definitely got to vet them. We definitely got to know who they are. If they're coming in, trying to sneak in illegally and not going to the Border Patrol facilities and actually getting vetted, like, at all, then those people need to be arrested and thrown back into the water.
trip, says she's willing to
That
talk.
is Mexico.
Mi pregunta es, ¿cómo fue tu vida en México?
Pues muy cruel, hay muchos asaltos, matación, todo eso.
¿Es muy pobre?
Sí,
¿Por qué quieres ir a los Estados Unidos?
porque como le comenté, estamos huyendo de la delincuencia y para un futuro para mis hijos.
¿Qué quieres para tus hijos?
Pues que estudien allá.
¿Hoy es tu primera vez en los Estados Unidos?
Sí, es la primera vez.
¿Y qué piensas?
This chick looks like she could be my neighbor.
Y sacarlos adelante y Pues sacarlos de la violencia.
¿Hay mucha violencia?
Sí, mucha. Por la gente que
Got
anda
a lot
pues,
of
así,
kids.
como robando, quitando a los niños y todo.
¿Pero es peligrosa para los niños también?
Sí, es peligroso.
¿Qué tipo de trabajo prefieres?
Maybe they're
Pues
not
yo
all hers.
dependía de un trabajo que sea honrado y todo.
¿Y tienes planes para asilo?
Sí, tengo para eso vengo, para que me den apoyo.
¿Qué significa asilo?
Pues que ayudan a las personas con los niños que vienen de México para acá.
¿Es un proceso fácil?
Pues yo digo que sí.
¿Y vas a sola hablar con la migra y decir yo tengo problemas en mi país?
Sí, así es.
Sí. ¿Tienes una ciudad que quieres ir?
A California.
¿California? ¿Qué ciudad en California?
Seems like everybody wants to go to California.
Victorville.
Guys, we need to talk these people out of going to like California and stuff. We need like 2 or 3 families to go to each small town, I think is what needs to happen. Maybe 3, 4 families in each small town. Because putting them in the cities, that's just going to exacerbate the problems, man. Especially in the Democrat states. Not to get political or anything, but like there is a correlation with it being blue and then being a city inside these blue states being just absolutely garbage.
¿Tienes familia en Victorville?
Sí.
I don't know what Victorville is.
¿Fue tan caro la viaje?
Sí, fue caro.
¿Cuánto?
10,000.
10,000 para
That's
cada
not that
persona.
expensive,
Todo.
but I guess for
Para los viajes y más aparte que nos piden 12.
12.
Sí, cada persona.
Necesitas trabajar para un año para eso, ¿sí?
Sí.
¿Y tienes miedo de deportar?
Pues sí tengo.
Sí. Pero no sabes ahora si eso es en tu futuro.
Pues no sé. Dependiendo ya de que esté allá con la migra, ellos deciden.
¿Qué piensas sobre la migra?
Pues yo pienso que nos van a ayudar, ¿no? Para eso vamos. Que ojalá y nos ayude.
Cuando tú fue joven,
they're just going to give you a phone and a gift card and send you on your way.
Sí tengo sueño.
¿Por qué?
They tell you they're going to help, but they ain't going to do nothing.
Pues dicen que hay mucho trabajo bien y todo.
¿Piensas que todas las personas en México quieren ir aquí?
Yo digo que sí.
Okay. ¿Qué piensas? Ok, muchas gracias.
Sí.
Hasta luego. Sí.
You know what I think we should do? Let them in. Let them in. Let's train them. And then let's send them back home. And see how it goes down there in Mexico.
Midway through my shoot, I had an interesting revelation. It seemed that almost every migrant of Latin American descent, particularly Mexican, that I talked to, said they were leaving their hometown because of threats from gangs or being kidnapped by the cartel. In our previous episode, Arizona Border Crisis, we spoke.
You know what's really going to suck? When all of these regular people that could uprise in these countries leave the countries and all that's left are the gang members and militaries. And then it becomes our own little Middle East out here. It's already turning into that.
Alberto and Roberto, who reported similar stories.
Por los carteles nos sacaron. Nos sacaron de las casas.
¿Qué ciudad de México vives?
En Veracruz, es que gobierna el cártel de Jalisco.
Sí.
Sí, pues te piden cuota y como si no tienes dinero, ¿de dónde les vas a dar?
Sí.
Y pues te sacan de tus casas.
Somos el grupo Matacetas.
Y estamos amenazados que no podemos regresar.
Hay mucho movimiento de eso de las drogas y todo.
Sí.
Muy feo.
However, many locals and law enforcement personnel believe they're being disingenuous when they make these sorts of claims, because applying for asylum requires the proof of persecution or imminent danger. During the asylum...
Here's another thing. So a lot of these people paid the cartels to get them up here. And if we arrest them and deport them, and they haven't paid the cartels, they will be murdered.
Seeking process, it's typically not enough to declare that you're simply poor and looking for a better life elsewhere. You have to provide ample justification that it's actually dangerous for you to stay in your hometown or your home country. And even then, many claims are rejected. And so claiming that the cartel is personally after you is a really easy way to be granted asylum, especially because there's no real intelligence apparatus to confirm or deny the authenticity of this threat. The concerned citizen of mysterious origin who we met at the Arizona border last episode claims that cartel cartel coyotes that control the human smuggling route around the Lukeville Gringo Pass area are coaching these migrants in how to explain themselves to press and Border Patrol agents.
The cartel or somebody is coaching them because they virtually say the same thing. Oh, that their lives are in danger from gangs in these areas, and they've been threatened with kidnapping. And we've even found a notebook that had those kind of answers written down as if the person was rehearsing these statements to say when they were, when they confronted the Border Patrol.
To be honest, this made perfect sense to me. I'm not for a second dismissing that narco violence has had a significantly negative impact on the civilian population of Mexico, especially in places like Ciudad Juarez, where hundreds of women have been found murdered for no apparent reason. But I found it difficult to believe that cartels were systematically kidnapping local children in their own communities and squeezing their non-affiliated, already struggling.
Yeah, even if it's not happening or hasn't happened to those people, the chance of it happening is so high that I don't blame them for lying about it. It's our own government's fault that these people are doing these things that a lot of people on the right say are grounds to deport them. I just do not agree. I think every single person, every single one of them, even the criminals, should be allowed to come here. Because guess what? Our criminal system is just way better. And also, it wouldn't even hurt us that much if we would just stop spending money on stupid shit. I have to tell my friends this all the time. Stop spending your money on stupid shit and you'll be able to use your money on the shit that actually matters. But no, they just want to keep buying shiny things and buying more houses and more land.
Parents for ransom pesos. It seemed like they had bigger fish to fry, like supplying the open-air trank market of Philadelphia or the fentanyl market of San Francisco. That being said, even if these migrants were lying or at least greatly exaggerating the cartel threat, they've still gone to extreme lengths to reach the United States. So their situation back home was obviously pretty hopeless. If anything, it's more sad that they have to present their situation in this way in order to be able to engage our immigration courts. However, some people, like the gentleman we interviewed, believe even the poverty they claim to come from is also a lie.
The part that alarms me, what you used to see, 10 years ago, you would find these cheap Chinese-made camouflage backpacks that were purchased by the crossers in these border towns. And they would get across the border. The backpacks would invariably break or something like that. Now we're finding these Louis Vuitton leather backpacks. We found one just the other day that was lying on the ground. We opened it up. In the top compartment, there was a bottle of cologne and a UCBC cord.
UCBC?
This is a...
Okay, well, this guy's a moron. Because I have those things. I have a lot of cool things. And I'm poor as fuck. I'm probably more poor than a lot of the Mexicans crossing the border. I couldn't come up with $10,000. So that's a shit argument, man. Do you realize that you could trade things for things? You can work for things that aren't money? Because a lot of these people will do that. Or, they're given these things, or they're buying them used or expired from just secondhand shops. You never know, man. These things are all over the world now, and I guarantee they're going to be cheaper to buy in Mexico than they are in the United States.
Different demographic completely.
I decided to walk through the Sonoran Desert to see if what the man was saying was true by inspecting backpacks left behind by migrants.
You guys, guess what it is? USB-C charger.
Wow.
Staying fresh.
Some toothpaste, Colgate? Man,
yeah, this is a
Colgate. That's some expensive shit in Mexico, man. You got to be rich to afford that.
It's kind of like a passport. It's an international certificate of vaccination stamped from the Republic of Guinea. Let's see what else is in here. Oh, and lo and behold, the aforementioned, totally authentic Gucci slipper.
Yep.
We spoke to this gentleman earlier, if you guys remembered, who mentioned that these migrants, unlike the old migrants, are bringing like luxury items like Gucci purses.
Yeah, which are probably fake. Like, they're just meant to look like it. Because they come from a country that is basically run by cartels in China.
Louis Vuitton flip-flops.
Louis Vuitton.
Prada bags and stuff like that. And so as you can see here, someone has left behind a Gucci slipper, but as you can see, it's not actually Gucci. It says on the heel right here, Zaza. Obviously in America, Zaza is a type of weed.
Zaza. What's Zaza? Where's Zaza? Zaza. Zaza. Zaza is the best weed in Florida. Best weed everywhere. Come on now. We don't bullshit.
But internationally, I would assume it is a variant knockoff of Gucci with the pattern, which leads to another theme, which is the mass production of knockoff luxury and designer goods in the third world. I don't know if you guys have been to Vietnam or Nigeria before, but place is fucking Gucci down.
Another thing I noticed along the border fence were blue flags and water stations that were placed every quarter mile on the way toward the Border Patrol facility.
Yeah, so as you guys can see, pretty much all along the border fence, like this entire way, every quarter mile or so, you'll see these giant blue flags.
Dude, we have sci-fi levels of scientific discovery and technology. What are we doing at this border, man? It's ridiculous.
I'm not sure who puts them there, but they're basically what I'm assuming to be emergency medical services. They have like a giant thing of water right here. So if you want to get some water, you can...
These people are not United States citizens. They're not Americans. I do not disagree with using Chinese levels of surveillance on these people at the border to scan their faces and know if they've been through before, or if you can scan their faces and know who they are immediately. And if you try and hide your face, guess what? You get arrested and thrown back. It just seems so easy to do to me. I don't know why they don't even try to implement these things.
Obviously, get some water and shit. They have cups here.
Upon further research, these tanks of water and flags are left behind by Humane Borders, aka Fronteras Compasivas, an Arizona-based nonprofit that sets up hundreds of water stations along the border to provide hydration to migrants, which in the summertime, as temperatures can rise to above 120 degrees in the desert, can be a matter of life or death.
People dying out in the desert. They were dying because they didn't have any water. So the next day I read another article about this, 2 people dying because they didn't have any water. So the third day, there was a mother and a daughter that died out here in the desert because they didn't have water. So I got pissed off. I said, I have to do something 7 days a week. We're out here in the field putting out water for the migrants.
If you're interested in donating, please go to humaneborders.org/donate. Last year alone, nearly 100 migrants died crossing the border in that 5-mile section where we filmed this video. And the sheer number of migrant deaths that occur in the Arizona desert as a whole, solely as a result of dehydration, is staggering. This in mind, 75% of migrant deaths happen in the summer months, so it's no surprise the winter months of December and January see the highest migrant traffic by a large margin.
What's up, bro? You doing?
Not much.
Where are you coming from?
Yeah, I'm from West Africa.
Oh, shit.
From Guinea, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy, bro.
There's a lot of people coming from Guinea.
Power, you know? Respect.
How long has your journey been so far?
Oh, though. Nothing to say. That's fucked up, though.
How'd you get to Mexico?
Oh, yeah, so... let me drink a lot of water fresh after that, so we can talk, okay?
You want some water?
Yeah.
We got some, brother. We got some. How long ago did you leave Guinea?
It's been 2 weeks. I live in Guinea. After Guinea, so Senegal, Dakar, to take to the plane to go Istanbul, 28 hours to escort. Then Istanbul to Bogota, San Salvador, Nicaragua. So you pick up the car to go to the borderline to Nicaragua and Honduras. You know, then you go to immigration Honduras just to take 1 paper. You know, then take a bus, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico. Mexico, the cop is Mexico is fucked up though.
The cops.
Yeah, my bro, damn.
Like the Mexican border patrol.
Mexican boy, Joe, I spending $5,000.
They extorted you.
Yeah, though. The guy is take me my watch, my heart, and my airport.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense because they're extorting. That's why they're allowing it, because they're not extorting Mexicans. They're extorting people that come from the other countries that come to Mexico. I mean, they're extorting Mexicans too, because why wouldn't they? Because it's not. They don't. The people who are doing it, they're not worried about the government. They're just worried about themselves. Like, I want money. You give me $5,000, I'll let you cross. You know, stuff like that. And they work for the cartels. And then also you got the actual cartels that are doing it, that aren't the Mexican police. So yeah, they're just extorting. They're just taking money. It's all corruption. And the United States government is just like, okay, well, we'll allow your corruption and we'll help you along with it. We will be the final process of your corruption.
You know, because I don't have the money, man, you know, in my pocket. I use my car. Yeah, my bank. My car bank, you know.
So you finally made it to Mexico, and then what happened?
Then finally in Mexico, we take one bus to go Chapachula. Chapachula is too far. Then, yeah, Chapachula, we take one bus again to continue Arriaga. Arriaga again, we take a taxi, the yellow car. Yellow car, then bike, horse.
This guy went on an adventure.
To the 3 cycles bike. After that, Xujitan. Then after Xujitan, Mexico City. Mexico City, we go to the bus station to buy a ticket. Right, we take a bus again. 1,070 miles.
From bus in Mexico City.
Exactly, yeah. 2,070 miles.
And you ended up near here.
2 days in the bus. You know, then when I arrived there, so I make it 2 days because I met the the Mexican girl enter the bus station. She got so much love for me, bro. Yeah, she followed me and that's the first meet. This is the Mexico bus station. You know her baby. Yeah, just to drink 1 beer again. You know, it's popping. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah. Oh damn. Back. It's not easy, but thank God.
So what's your plan now, bro?
It's my plan to the next episode.
Yeah.
After these things, but difficult to explain it. But that's in God's power.
As the sun began to set and darkness approached, we figured it was safer to go back to the Border Patrol facility. When we returned, migrant population had doubled, and spirits were considerably lower than they were in the early afternoon when we first arrived.
¿Qué pasa?
Yeah, because the same people have been there for a while and they're not eating.
¿A dónde eres?
Soy de Guatemala.
Sí.
Sí.
¿Estás bien?
Sí.
¿Qué pasa, mi amigo?
Tengo hambre.
Sí.
Sí.
¿Cómo fue tu viaje?
Está mal. Estoy muriendo de hambre.
He don't look like it, but still, I feel for him.
Comida?
It sucks not to eat for a long time. Oh man, you can't just do that.
Miguel Yat.
¿Cuántos años tienes?
Tengo 34.
Sí.
Sí.
¿Tienes hijos o hijas?
Sí, tengo. Tengo hijo. Tengo 4. Son 6 mis hijos. 3 varones y 3 mujeres.
¿Y ellos viven en Guatemala?
Sí, vivo en Guatemala.
Sí.
Sí.
¿Y por qué viajes a los Estados Unidos?
Pues es que allá no tengo terreno, no tengo casa donde vivir. Por esa razón tengo que viajar. Sí, pero tengo que esperar la voluntad de Dios. Sí.
¿Crees en Dios?
Sí, soy cristiano.
Sí. ¿Católico o no?
No, soy evangélico. Sí, soy evangélico.
¿Y qué quieres hacer aquí en los Estados Unidos?
quiere superar, sacar adelante mi familia.
This guy looks like that he's gonna be working something, construction or working in a factory or something.
Sí,
He looks
quiero
like he's gonna be
trabajar.
making
tipo de trabajo
decent
quieres
money.
hacer?
Sea lo que caiga, yo rasque mi vida. Sí,
¿Tienes una ciudad que quieres ir o no?
lo que sea. Sí. O mi cuñado me va a encontrar allá en Estados Unidos. Sí.
¿O es tu primera vez en los Estados
Es mi
Unidos?
primera vez.
¿Qué piensas?
Sí. Sí, estoy pensando en viajar, pero lamentablemente salió muy mal el viaje. Va.
¿Qué lo pasó en la viaje?
Pues mire, cuántos días ya llevo un mes de venir acá.
It's still, yeah, man. He's been here, there, and everywhere.
Los bodegos y así está pasando también. Y aquí no hay comida, no hay nada. Sí.
Yeah.
¿Cuántos días fue tu viaje?
30 días. Ya lleva 30 días ahorita, un mes cabal.
¿Fue caro?
Sí. Sí.
¿Cuánto cuesta para todo?
¿Cómo así?
¿Cuánto cuesta para usted viajar?
Como 100,000. Sí, 100,000 me están cobrando.
Yeah, about $5,000-$10,000.
Sí. Y como para pagar eso, si no me voy.
¿Fue peligroso?
Sí, fue peligroso.
¿Por qué?
Porque nos venimos escondidos. Sí.
¿Sientes que la gente americana está bien?
Sí, sí, está un poco bien, pero no, pongamos uno, si va a encontrar uno, lo matan porque no lo conozca uno.
Midway through my interview with Miguel Yate, I began to put two and two together. When Miguel referred to having to hide a lot while crossing the border, he wasn't referring to coyotes. He may have been referring to one of the many civilian border militias that often lurk the perimeter of the border fence.
The local sheriff does not welcome their presence on Arizona's border with Mexico, but they say they're not breaking the law.
In many documented cases, these militia groups are alleged to have opened fire indiscriminately on migrants crossing the border fence illegally.
Yeah, they shouldn't be doing that. Hold up. No. That should be illegal to hunt people. That should 100% be illegal for civilians to hunt people.
Sí.
¿Tienes familia o amigos aquí?
No, no tengo. Vengo solo. No tengo nada.
¿Solo?
Solo vengo.
¿Vas a hacer asilo político?
Sí.
¿Es fácil para hacer eso?
Pues no sé, fíjate. Me concedo un trabajo, va. Me voy con usted. Necesito recuperar mi
Yeah,
familia.
he's trying to get
Más seguro.
sympathy.
¿Tienes una esposa?
Sí, tengo. Sí, por eso tengo que salir.
¿Qué tipos de trabajo te gustas?
Pues lo que hay yo voy a trabajar. Lo que sea, sí, voy a hacer.
¿Puedes hablar inglés?
No puedo. No, solo español.
Pero puedes decir cosas como hello en inglés, ¿sí?
Puede ser, sí, aprendiendo.
¿Hay mucha gente,
Yeah, he's
gente
gonna
de
need
pobreza
that.
en Guatemala?
Bien hay.
Need to start
¿Tú fue
teaching these
joven,
people
fue
English.
pobreza también?
Sí, por mi pobreza. No tengo casa, no tengo terreno.
People
La
don't cry
misma.
this long.
Por eso tengo que ir a ganar dinero para superar mi familia.
¿Dónde
This guy's
vive tu familia ahora? ¿En
manipulative.
una casa?
Pues solo tenemos prestado una casa nada más.
¿Hay mucha violencia en Guatemala?
Pues la verdad que no hay. Solo pobreza, que no hay dinero, no hay trabajo, pues, sí.
Well, I just received some super shitty news and went rage mode for a minute. I'm mostly back to normal. I'll talk about that later. Let's get back to the migrant detention camp.
¿Qué es tu sueño para tu vida?
Mi sueño, pues, regreso un día, compre mi autobús o mi carro a comprar mi terreno y a construir mi casa.
Sí.
Sí.
Soon after our conversation, Miguel's name was called, and he, along with hundreds of other migrants, began gathering in a single file line to board commuter buses, which were told leave the migrant processing center at 6:30 p.m. sharp every day. Groups of 40 to 50 people, often called micro caravans, began emerging and heading toward the bus to get a good place in line.
Hola, bienvenidos, ¿cómo estás? ¿A dónde eres?
De México.
¿Cuántos días fue tu vieja?
2 días ya.
¿Estás bien?
Sí. Sí, algo cansados, pero
¿Asilo aquí? No.
sí, asilo político, ahora sí que por problemas de la comunidad y algo que le pasa a mi hijo. Se meten mucho la gente mala con los niños, entonces de verdad yo quisiera que me apoyaran para sacar a mi hijo porque yo no quiero que a mi hijo le hagan ningún daño. Pues ahí sí yo preferiría algo como de cocina o en alguna casa a limpieza.
Sí.
Me he costado llegar hasta aquí y batallándole con mi hijo.
¿Y qué ciudad prefieres?
Fresco Valley, Arizona.
Ok, sí, muy cerca.
They're taking her gerbs. What some would say. I disagree.
Sí.
¿Quieres decir una cosa para los americanos?
Pues que nos apoyen y ahora sí que nos vean con buena cara porque
Most
pues,
of
yo
you
pienso
are.
que todos merecemos algo mejor, ¿no?
Sí. Good luck, guys.
After our brief interview, the mother and her son headed to the bus line, and to my surprise, more and more migrants began emerging from all angles headed toward the bus. I wanted to speak to some more people about what their journey was like and what sort of life they expect in the United States, but it seemed like the commuter bus was probably reaching its maximum capacity given the amount of people I saw gathered nearby. So I figured the best place to continue doing interviews was actually in line, where Border Patrol agents were checking migrants' passports and photographing them for documentation purposes. Despite a gentleman's earlier claim that we have no idea who these people are because they shed all of their ID after hopping the border wall.
What they do is when they come through the wall, they shed any type of ID. No one has any idea of who these people are.
Almost everybody in line had valid passports and documentation. Like this pair of cousins, who came directly from Guatemala, and initially told me they left because of violence and extortions.
¿Cómo fue su vida en Guatemala?
Hay mucha violencia y la economía está muy...
¿Qué tipo de violencia?
Se le digo extorsiones.
Ok.
Extorsiones.
¿Y ustedes tienen familia aquí?
Sí, mis hijos están acá, en Los Ángeles, California.
¿Tus hijos están aquí?
Sí. Y yo vengo luchando por estar con ellos. Intenté 2 veces, pero nada más me hicieron un retiro.
¿Cuántos años tienen tus hijos?
El primero tiene 21, la segunda 17 y el chiquito 12.
Sí. ¿Y qué tipo de trabajo quieres hacer?
Pues a mí me encanta trabajar
Yeah,
en
it seems
casa,
like a
en
running theme.
restaurante y cuidar niños, ¿saben?
¿Es difícil para cruzar la frontera?
And you know what? I wouldn't mind to have a housekeeper. I couldn't afford one, but I wouldn't mind one.
¿Aquí?
Sí.
¿Fue caro o no?
Pues la verdad que como venimos así viajando nosotros por nuestra propia cuenta, pero sí, 18.
¿Cada persona?
Sí.
¿Piensas que América es una tierra de oportunidad?
Sí, la verdad que sí, no queda la menor duda. Sí.
Sí. ¿Por qué?
Porque nos da oportunidad de trabajar y ganar mejor que en nuestro país.
Sí, por eso sale de
And
nuestra
it's starting
tierra,
to look
uno
that
lo
way.
abandona, pero es por algo bueno, para apoyarlos.
¿Tus padres son en Guatemala?
Sí, solamente eso.
I began to learn that it wasn't necessarily safety or quality of life that made America a better choice than Central America. You're actually much more likely to become a victim of property crime in somewhere like Detroit, New Orleans, Baltimore, or even San Francisco than you are in rural Honduras or Guatemala. It more has to do with our minimum wage and the dramatically inflated value of the US dollar in developing nations. For some perspective on just how lopsided...
And they hear, oh, I'm making $3 an hour. Then they hear, in America, you make $20 an hour. But they failed to mention that the prices of everything is like 5 times more or 10 times more.
Our economies are, let's use the standard 9-to-5 American work week as a measurement unit. So that's 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, totaling 40 hours of work every week. With our federal minimum wage, which is about $7.25 an hour, that would mean the average American minimum wage worker makes $290 per week.
Oh, please don't compare money to money.
If you work that same job in Guatemala City, under the minimum wage that they set, which is weekly, not hourly, you make 846 quetzales a week, which is about $108. Meaning, even if you're making the bare minimum in America, washing dishes, picking berries, or cleaning
Why are
houses,
you comparing
you'd still be making
American money to American money? Because it's worth different amounts in the different places you are.
triple what you'd make in Guatemala or Honduras working
that's
the
bad.
exact same job. It's almost common sense for a lot of these migrants to enter America, work as hard as they can, save up a bunch of money, and then go live a nice life back in their home country. And on a domestic level, it's actually happening in America, especially on the West Coast. Due to the skyrocketing cost of living, absurdly high tax rates, and overall mismanagement of California.
The LAO said lawmakers and the governor should consider billions in cuts to programs, including those related to education, the environment, and transportation.
Hundreds of thousands of upper-income Californians, especially those working in the tech sector, where stay-at-home remote work has become the norm, have fled the state en masse to reside elsewhere, in states like Arizona, Idaho, Montana, and of course, Texas, where the cost of living is significantly lower and the tax codes are much more relaxed.
3 big names in tech are all packing for Texas.
It has to do with taxes. The states that have been winning more recently are the states that don't have
California's not the place
any
to go.
state income tax or corporate taxes.
Why do they hear
This mass
about
exodus of
California?
Californians has disrupted the economies and political landscapes of many of these states, causing many Texans to adopt slogans like "Don't California my Texas," which refers to the progressive political views often held by California's economic migrants, who are, of course, seeking tax havens in red states.
Texas doesn't want you.
Politics aside, these migrations have been successful in saving Californians a ton of money in the long run. To be honest, I personally moved out of California for economic purposes as well, to save money, and to be able to provide my family with a higher standard of living. And I wasn't fleeing any kind of danger or poverty.
We need to be convincing
So
these
aside
people
from being
California is not
a
the place to go.
federally tax-paying citizen, what's the difference between me and someone immigrating illegally?
The ones
it almost
coming
feels
legally,
like they have more of a
that
right
is.
to immigrate to America than
I mean,
I do to a red state. It's not
There's not really a way to come in legally to these people. They don't know. This is the legal way to them. So we need to be convincing them not to go to California because they're just going to end up on the streets and homeless. They need to try and find their way to get to a small town and start working.
my job whether to say that illegal immigration is right or wrong, but I'm just saying from a market like hustle standpoint, it makes perfect sense, especially if the border is wide open like it is now. Anyways, as the buses prepared to leave, a final group of stragglers arrived, speaking Bengali. They said they were from Bangladesh. I've never met anybody from Bangladesh, except a taxi driver in New York City 6 years ago who told me that the traffic in Bangladesh's capital city, Dhaka, was so bad it drove him into a suicidal state of depression, prompting a permanent exodus from his home country. I wanted to interview these migrants, but unfortunately I don't speak a word of Bengali yet. Still, that didn't stop me. But bear in mind, as you watch this, that I have no idea what they're saying.
স্বাধীন দেশ গণতন্ত্রের জন্য উদার যুক্তরাজ্য স্বাধীন এই জন্য আমি আসছি কারণ আমি জীবন রক্ষার জন্য আসছি আমার পর হুমকি হয়েছে আমার ভাইয়ের চাকরি চলে গেছে প্রাইমারি স্কুলের চাকরি করে সে প্লাস হইলে আমার ওয়াইফ একজন প্রাইমারি স্কুলের টিচার সরকারি টিচার মোসাম্মদ 7 অক্টোবর 1900 আমার জন্ম তারিখ 12/6/84 আমার নাম মোহাম্মদ আব্দুল আওয়াল শেখ পাবনা জেলায় আমাদের বাসা
Mohammed comes from Pabna district, a majority Muslim city of 3 million just west of the capital.
আমি এলডিপির সাথে জড়িত এলডিপিতে যোগদান করি 21 ফেব্রুয়ারি 2000 ওলি আহমেদের নেতৃত্বে এলডিপিতে যোগদান করি এলডিপি পার্টি আমার খুব ভালো লাগে কারণ এলডিপি পার্টির একটা নীতি আছে আর অন্যান্য পার্টির নীতি নাই আমলিক পার্টির নীতি নাই কারণ
This is all very, very interesting. Mohammed is a member of the Liberal Democratic Party in Bangladesh, a group led by Oli Ahmed, a revolutionary who was the first Bengali military official to revolt against the occupying Pakistani
Yeah, these are the types
forces
of people we need to really look into. People that have, like, devotion to military factions. Even if they seem like they have good ideals, if they don't look like you or think like you or do things like you, when they come in and they want everybody to do the things that they want themselves to do, then there's some conflict going to happen. Or if somebody else, doesn't like them, conflict's going to happen. We need to know, because we what if we move these migrants into a place that has one of these other factions in it that just don't like the LDP, which I've never heard of them. So they just hear LDP, Democratic Party, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you're Democrats, and you sound like you would blow up a train station. I don't like you. And then problems ensue from there. That's all it takes. We need to know. Anybody that stands with any kind of military, good or bad.
This led to the Bangladesh Liberation War, in which Bangladesh came out on top and won their sovereignty. Oli Ahmed's party, the LDP, is allied with the even more powerful Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP, who in the past 2 decades have been extremely active in their resistance to the current Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Which is called the Awami League. Since Sheikh Hasina came into power in 2009, the BNP and the LDP, which Mohammed belongs to, have accused the Awami
What if he comes here and he thinks we're all evil?
League of rigging the elections and fixing the ballots to keep Sheikh Hasina in power, leading to mass protests.
I mean, I see where he's coming from, where they're coming from.
Elections of 2018.
The opposition activists staged a protest in Dhaka. They wore black gags over their mouths to condemn the election.
Police fired rubber bullets and tear gas.
From what I've learned about politics, it don't matter which side you're on. They lie about a lot of stuff. Every single party from everywhere. So that's all I got to say about that.
To disperse stone-throwing opposition crowds blocking major intersection roads in the capital, Dhaka. Many opposition activists and leaders were beaten up by the police and hundreds were detained. The opposition blames the government for the crackdown. The government said the programs by opposition parties are intended to destabilize the country and make people suffer.
After the 2018 election, tensions continued to escalate between the Awami League and BNP, leading to the arrest and imprisonment of opposition bloggers, teachers, activists, and journalists associated with the BNP.
It's more than 20,000 opposition leaders, activists, and supporters have been arrested since late October.
Last October, just months before the election polls opened, Sheikh Hasina took things a step further, declaring the opposition party to be a terrorist organization and calling for the immediate arrest of any and all public BNP or LDP members, including Mohammed.
আর অন্যান্য পার্টির নীতি নাই আমলিক পার্টির নীতি নাই কারণ একদিন আগেই নির্বাচন হয়ে যায় ওরা চায় না আমি এলডিপি পার্টি করি আমি খালি জীবন রক্ষার জন্য এই দেশে চলে আসছি যুক্তরাষ্ট্র একটা স্বাধীন দেশ এ দেশে আসলে আমার জীবন বাঁচবে সেই জন্য আমার আব্বা আমি মোটামুটি ঢাকা
Yeah, but what kind of free do you want to be? Because there's all kinds of different freedoms. Because you got to keep in mind, we're not completely free here. Like, there are certain things that you can't do, especially in public. So, like, it's not completely free. We don't have 100% free speech.
আমার বোনের বাসায় আশ্রয় নেই আমার বোনের বাসা ঢাকা মিরপুর সেখানে আশ্রয় নেই ওরা চায় যে খালি আমরাই ক্ষমতায় থাকি স্বাধীন বলে কোনো কিছু নেই ওদের কাছে স্বাধীন
Yeah, we got people like that here in America too.
ত্যাগ করে এই স্বাধীন দেশ
The people who are telling you all these things are the same people who don't like freedom.
যুক্তরাজ্য আমার খুব ভালো লাগে 20 তারিখে মেক্সিকো ঢুকি আর আমেরিকা আজকে 29 তারিখে আমেরিকা ঢুকছি আমার ওয়াইফের কথা তুমি জীবন বাঁচাও আমার আব্বার কথা তুমি জীবন বাঁচাও আমি যদি জীবন আজ যদি বাংলাদেশ থেকে না আসতাম তাহলে আমার
Okay. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks so much. To my
Yeah, which I'm fine with it. I'm just kind of just giving examples and talking points. I'm fine with this guy coming over here and, you know, working for his family, and I don't care about all the political stuff. It's just point I'm making is we got to ingrain these people into our culture, or they're just going to build their own culture and take over, and we can't let that happen, because then the same things that were happening in their country will start happening here, because the same people that were causing those problems will start coming here because they're like, oh, this is the culture that I like.
Surprise, the buses still hadn't left yet, so thankfully this gentleman was able to get a seat. I knew from watching the news in previous weeks that these buses were a major source of controversy when it came to the border issue. As indicated by their Texas license plates, these buses were funded by Governor Greg Abbott, who in the past 2.5 months has sent over 75,000 migrants from Texas and other states into 6 sanctuary cities, notably New York City and Chicago, whose immigration and housing resources are being dramatically exhausted by these buses. So this is kind of the thing.
I also understand where Abbott's coming from, but that's not the way to do it, man. You're just making these people's lives worse, and that's not helping the economy at all. You think it does? You think it helps your own economy, but what about the fact that you are tied to every state in the country and their economy is suffering because you're sending these migrants out to do God knows what? What really needs to happen is Texas needs to demand more funding for the education for a lot of these people, mostly to speak English. That'd be a big one.
Famous buses that I've been, hearing about in the news. As you can see, this big ass.
And who cares if they're poor? Trying to get here just because they're poor, man. If we got jobs that they could work, let them in. Because not everybody's filling jobs. There are jobs they could do. Why don't we? Here's a thought. Why don't we get rid of machine farming? And just, well, okay, this kind of sounds like slavery. But let them do it if they want as an actual job. Replace the machines. Put them in factories like all the rest of us. We all do this slave work too. Give them jobs. Give them temporary housing, as in temporary as in they are going to look to want to move out of it. Put them in a place, make them pay rent on it, and get a job. If they can't keep a job held down and they can't pay their rent properly, throw them back. Or put them in a different place. Maybe the place is bad. But it can't just be up to the government, though. That's the whole issue. There needs to be like a lot more people coming in and helping. Mr. Beast tends to do a lot of these things, but he's not going to do it by himself because it'll be too political for him to dip his feet in. But if everybody with a lot of money starts doing it, which nobody's going to see this video, so nobody cares. If I had millions of dollars to make content, I would be at the border making content and not bashing one side or the other. I would be actually doing some good to help and maybe throw some money in to help vet some of these people and get them educated and get educated, not like re-education. Educate them like on English and about like the history of the country a little bit. I mean, they ain't gotta know it beat for beat, but like you would do for a kid who's going to school learning about history, learning to read English. Ain't gotta be perfect. You just gotta be manageable to be able to work in the country.
Charter bus just pulled up with Texas license plates, and right as it pulled up, they divided everybody into two lines. They're just gonna load everybody up on these buses. I'm not sure where they're gonna go, but yeah, this is it's bus time, baby. I decided to commit wholeheartedly to following this bus to wherever it would go, which I should note is not illegal, given that I'm a member of the press. The bus began on Puerto Blanco Drive and drove eastbound, back toward Arizona State Highway 85, a two-lane road that crosses directly into Mexico where it becomes Mexican Highway 8. For reference, that's where we filmed the initial episode in this series, Arizona Border Crisis. We followed this bus for several hours, past multiple Border Patrol checkpoints, and ultimately onto an Indian reservation called the Tohono O'odham Nation, home to a highly sovereign Native American tribe that owns a 75-mile stretch of the U.S.
Hey, that's the way to do it.
Much of which has no border wall. For this reason, the Tohono
Oh,
O'odham
wait.
Nation is a
I
hotbed of
misunderstood.
human trafficking and drug smuggling. Everywhere you look, there are signs for missing women. And the Department of Homeland Security has created a tactical patrol unit called the Shadow Wolves.
I thought they were saying that Indian reservations are taking in the migrants. That'd be cool. We could definitely set up some reservations for them. They are technically Native Americans. A lot of them. Why not? The government's got plenty of land they can give up.
Comprised of military
No, but they want you to give up your land.
Tribe who use ancient tracking techniques to
And your
stalk drug
accommodates.
smugglers through the desert. As we followed the migrant bus through the res, it abruptly made a left turn down a dirt road. Okay, so we just followed this migrant bus all the way from the border in Lukeville, about 120 miles inland, and now we are at an airport. It's a regional, small airport. And parked horizontally in front of us. From out of nowhere, a helicopter landed directly next to our car, And then tribal police came in from the dirt road, blocking us in. And then told us that we were not allowed to film on the Tohono O'odham Nation land unless we got a written permit from the tribal council. And since the tribal council wouldn't be in office until 9 a.m. the next morning, that meant we had to stop filming. The tribal officers were quite courteous with us, but still insisted that we leave and escorted us away.
If they're concerned about that, obviously we're concerned as well when we have people out here who are following federal agents. All right, well, I appreciate you guys' cooperation.
Thank you for doing the story you're doing. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
The tribal police escorted us off the property and we drove in the direction of Tucson. They followed us the entire way until we left the res.
That's some bullshit. They're using the guise of it's tribal land for people to not be able to film them. Journalists to not be able to film what they're doing out there because they know what they're doing is disgusting and they're not doing this the correct way at all. And I just can't believe there are people that are on board with this. Like, there's so many things going on right now, man. We've got more to worry about than some war with Ukraine and Israel. I mean, I love Israel, but like, their government is not good. I'm not here to talk about that. Let's continue with this.
Left me with many questions. Seeing the tribal police obviously collude with the federal government to directly keep me away from documenting whatever they were doing was quite strange, and my mind ran wild with conspiracy theories about what the heck they were hiding. I realized at that point that I was only getting a small part of the picture, just speaking with migrants who had immediately crossed the border into the US. It seemed like the group really calling the shots and pulling the strings were the coyotes, who appeared to be playing our broken immigration system like a fiddle, and probably making billions every month. And so my new
100%.
journalistic mission
Probably more.
began.
I bet the cartel, altogether cartels, have trillions of dollars.
I began to ask different migrants
They control
and other
multiple
people involved in that
countries.
whole world if they knew any coyote
who would go on camera and give me a full tour of their operations.
At first I thought this is going to be impossible. What kind of coyote would want to go on camera?
This is what James O'Keefe was wanting.
But I learned that most coyotes actually see themselves as Harriet Tubman-style freedom fighters, transporting the poor and needy up north for a better life. And
I do agree with that. I guarantee that guy that was given the... I bet that he was just straight up thought he was doing a good thing. Which he probably kind of is, because he is getting these people out of a terrible situation. And but I don't know, man. I don't know. The more I look into the border crisis, the more I think that everybody is just wrong, which I should have figured that anyway. I don't know. I think we're going to have to get to some sci-fi levels of identifying people. And I really don't agree with doing that. But they're not Americans. But shouldn't every human have that right? I don't know. I guess I'm just going to have to keep looking into this. Maybe that's the whole reason everything's so messed up, because nobody's got answers. But I also think that a big reason that nobody's got answers is because there are people not allowing the questions to be asked, or even to be known what questions to ask.
so I got in touch with some coyotes
who said they wanted a chance to explain themselves to the world.
But there was one problem. They weren't anywhere near Arizona. They were in a city called Piedras Negras, which is directly across the Texas border from a town called Eagle Pass, Texas. A town of about 28,000 people that in the past couple months has seen more illegal immigration than any other city on the entire border.
On Wednesday, Border Patrol agents apprehended more than 10,000 migrants.
Scenes like these have happened too often in the last month, making Maverick County the deadliest area for migrants in this 10-county border region.
And so I caught a flight to San Antonio, rented a car, and drove to Eagle Pass. At first, I asked the coyotes if they could walk over the border and meet me in the United States.
But they said that was way too sketchy, so I enlisted local rapper
Cheddar Blanco to escort me
across the border.
Keep me a strap on my lap and a strap in the back. Riding with 20 bags of the gas in the trunk, gotta serve like the whole Eagle Pass.
So we're gonna go into Mexico. We're gonna meet up with a coyote, professional coyote. Coyote's gonna be the person that crosses you. So the person that's, trained person to go through the desert, go through the river, get you to your pickup over here in the United States. So
If you want to see our new episode,
Texas Border Crisis,
go to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/channel5. As many of you know, Channel 5 has always been, and will continue to be completely independent and powered 100% by your contributions of $5.
Saludos desde Piedras Negras, Coahuila. Saludos. Salud para Piedras.
Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and Vine.
Fuck the. Yeah. Man, I really don't like stuff being paywalled. This video was just too good though, and I think that one will be too. I'm not gonna pay for it, but I'll be waiting patiently for it to release on YouTube. Or maybe I'll find it somewhere. I won't react to it if I find it somewhere that's not official. But yeah, if he releases it, I'll definitely watch it. I've got nothing to say, really. U.S. government is just majorly screwing up on this one, though. I don't think this is the fault of Mexico. I don't think this is the fault of anything below the border. I think this is 100% the fault of the U.S. government for allowing things to be this way. Because it can be better. But nobody's down there. Nobody is down there except for people who have very little power to do anything other than meet a few people. There are some that are actively trying to help out the migrants, but they're few and far between. And I very much disagree with regular militant civilians hunting people with guns in trucks. That just sounds like Middle East, like chaos to me. And they're a part of the problem. A huge part of the problem is the people that are hating on the migrants rather than hating on the government. Sticky situation, man. I don't flow either way. I've got my own take on it. Do better, everybody.